Hello and good morning and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and Disembodied Hands, Quindy, Justin, and sometimes John. How are you guys? Oh dear. Woof, and Turgeon with the 8 months. Nice resub. Nice. Hi, Pendrake. You've been in and out lately. It's nice to see you. Let's get some verdigris. I want to hit this sucker with some verdigris today. And I think I want to use a different green. I said we were probably going to swap around and use a different green. I think I want to use Elven green today. I think it really doesn't, like, as long as you use the right color for the top end of verdigris, you can use a lot of different dark greens for the lower end of verdigris. So really, I just try to keep it consistent on the top end. Mostly out of it. We all get those days. Yeah, you're always on crazy long calls, Nomad Zeke. Like, when do they actually expect you to do work? I'm of the school that believes that meetings are more unproductive than they are productive. And that most of the time, like, most meetings could be shortened to like 15 minutes pretty effectively if somebody rode herd on them. And actually involve fewer people. But that's just me. That's just my meeting experiences. So we're going to use my new favorite dark green, Elven green, which is, I believe, later in the Bones series, but it is a standardly available green. I'm going to get a puddle that's pure Elven green. I'm going to thin it way down so I can use it for shading on this. And then I'm going to do a 50-50 with the verdigris. And we'll go straight up to verdigris with just a tiny bit of Elven green. So I just smeared my my bottle, just a little smear of the Elven green in there. Hey, Bull! 28 months. Insane. That's 20 more months than Turgeon. If you were painting, then we didn't want to interrupt your groove anyway, Kerniko. One, two, three, four. You guys know the drill. Everything is in like 1, 2s, and 4s with Anne's, with my layout. That way I always know what I've got, more or less. My light is a little bit too, there we go. A little bit too. I've been playing with my light positioning. So we'll see if that works. Yeah, I can still see. I still want to be able to see things well, but I've been playing around with my light positioning just a little bit and my mic positioning. So we'll see. As long as everything is still visible, we're good. It does feel a little bit dark though. Hold on. That's a little better, I think. Yeah, having the light bar, it's like, actually, let me see if I can, just want to see if you guys can still see the palette. Yeah, you can. Okay, good. That's a good position then. Sometimes you got to muck around and try to see if you can improve on things. All right, so we're going to mix these up and we're going to see what colors they are. And we're going to throw a big black base on it so that we can actually see that, hopefully. Frog in my throat today. Good morning, War Shadow. It wasn't a groove, more like a trench. Oh, that's no good. So I start 2 to 1. Or 2.5 to 1 in some cases. I'm going to do a couple more drops, though, in that, because verdigris has a lot of white. Verdigris, the green copper verdigris color is built in a white base so that it gets coverage. Since when you're doing verdigris, you do tend to want to cake it up on top of the surface. I'm probably going to want this green to go a little bit more south as well, just a little bit more thin, because I want it to be an effective shader. Like many dark greens, it does have certain level of transparency, but it's covering pretty well still here. So I'm going to, one more drop of water so that it's like 4 to 3. That'll probably give me what I want. No, it is not. I do not use any out of print colors anymore, War Shadow. It is Elven green, which is Bones. It's my new favorite green. It's actually a little on the warm side, but it mixes fine with the verdigris. So I want to get an intermediate tone here. Elven green. 9488. And then up to the top of our verdigris. Yeah, it's a good green. But I don't use Peacock anymore because it's out of print. I try never to use out of print colors here because that's not fair to you guys. It's certainly not fair to new people coming in who probably don't have any of the old colors. I may not even have many of the new colors, but all right, we're going to try to bust butt on this one today. Because I realized yesterday that whoa. Hold on, we'll get there in a second. First I want focus. There we go. But I realized yesterday that I don't want to be painting this model for forever, and I may stop if I don't get significant progress. And in that case, it's going to be half done pretty much forever, because I can't see myself finishing it off stream. So it's either going to get done on stream or it's not going to get done. Just a moose of a thing. And it's especially a moose of a thing to paint to this level. Whenever you have a big model, if you increase the level that you're painting it to, be ready for an exponential increase in hours that you're going to have to put into it. All right, so I'm going to start with my dark green, and I'm going to block in some shadows. We'll get a little closer. I'm pretty much painting with a wash at this point, as far as how strong this is. Let's see it there. Verdigris goes wherever water would pool. So I'm going to put in shadows all on the top of these little leaves. And I actually will extend the shadows a little bit as an initial level of verdigris is probably going to creep pretty far up. It's only I cake on the lightest colors in the places where the most water would go. So or where the water would take the longest to dry, which is usually in the deepest recesses. So think about kind of physics and how stuff dries. It doesn't all dry at one rate if it's pooling. Yeah, out of production is the correct term. OOP is, for me, it's always out of print. Out of production is a more accurate term. You got the idea though, so. Sloppy English, imprecise language for man today. Sorry, all my English skills are going to my books. Streaming? Bah! All right, so we've got a nice amount of green. I put it into every shadow, and I've heavily shaded areas that are kind of dropping down where the water from up here would run down and probably pool. It'd probably get in his hair and, color most of this lower area because it would focus on the lower part of the ponytail. I'm going to put a little bit in here too. You don't have to cover over all of your dark green. You can leave a lot of it showing. It's all how much verdigris you want to cake up. I do want to put a little bit of this on the underside of the wreath as well, just because if everything is getting wet, if he's out in the rain, there would be a little bit clinging between these little leaflets. Especially because there's kind of a rim here around his helmet. Do you see? Hey, Jose Pepoli. I probably didn't pronounce that correctly at all, but Jose, welcome. Thanks for the follow. I don't usually see follows because we don't get a little flag that pops up on the Reaper stream. But I just saw it pop up on my OBS, so excellent. So let's verdigris. Let's just pretty much hit. I'll do the helmet real quick for those of you who are watching, just in case some of you have to out of pigmentation. I hope we're not out of pigment. You're all kind of screwed. No paint for you. All right, so now we're going to kind of double down on this with this slightly lighter color. We're going to go in and hit it where the color would really be building up. So that's wherever the deepest recesses would be, or anywhere that it makes sense that water would run down to pool. So you might get a bit of water caught between these two little slashy crescent horns here, but you probably wouldn't get it staying there, but you would have it run down and pool down here. So that's why I'm putting this color here, but not necessarily up there. This also lets me preserve my green here and there. You don't always get TMI War Shadow. You also don't always get like really even coverage. So like if you have water that's kind of pooling here, you could actually bring it over different parts of the, you know, and kind of pull your verdigris up. Like maybe it got a little bit rough. Maybe there was a little bit of an imperfection up here, you know, so you don't have to stick to your cracks. You can like put some verdigris elsewhere and just kind of stipple it on. It's going to look more natural that way because it doesn't always like, it doesn't precisely follow stuff because of the unpredictable nature of water and different rates of evaporation and all that stuff. It's gonna be different. And you don't want it to be really even. Like you want to stipple irregularly to make it look more real. Often if you look at statues that have been out in the environment, you'll see even streaking, like where the verdigris is showing almost a pattern of streaking where the water has just run down over the surface. And it's kind of random where it's heavier and where it's not. But once it starts to build up, then it tends to catch more water. So it's an ever escalating phenomenon with the verdigris, with the corrosion. I have a Patreon where I actually did one of my $10 PDFs recently. It was the colors of corrosion, and we talked about iron and copper and bronze, which are very similar, and brass. It was actually, I think, one of my favorite PDFs I've done. So there we go. So now we can just go up with the highest one, just a little bit. Yeah, I hope you feel better too, War Shadow. I know there's some colds going around right now above and beyond the most hated plague. The plague that shall not be named. How about that? Let's just call it that. So I'm going to put in some of this really light verdigris here. And just like layering, I'm going to keep it just a little bit more constrained than my previous layer. And how fast you want to go is how like fast and loose you should be with applying this. Like if I really want to go fast today, I'm going to have to like start booking it and being less precise. So you got to question pretty much whether, you know, what's your aim and goal? Are you trying to do a really meticulous, cool job? Or are you trying to get the model done, but you want to do some corrosion just because, you know, it's fun? And you certainly can just stipple away and go a little crazy and do this a lot faster. So, but there's a precise way to do it. Yeah, one of our, we were trying to have paint club this past weekend, and one of our people who I was very sad because I was looking forward to seeing her again, but she couldn't make it because she had a cold. Alrighty. So that's where we are on the helmet. The other side is a little bit stronger. As you can see, I went a little bit heavier handed on that. I'm going a little bit lighter on this side. I actually like verdigris when it's a little bit lighter handed. Just my personal likes. I like the metals to show through a little bit more. So there we are. I like to have a bit of verdigris to show the corrosion, but I don't like to have it like a ton. So let's do this section really quick. As you can see, I did on the other side, I actually filled in that groove because it would definitely collect water down here and especially in the pattern. So I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to set it up. When you're going to do that, if you're trying to set up a very strong verdigris inside of a pattern where water would settle, just go in with your lightest color right away and outline that as if you were kind of reverse lining it. You can do it either way. So that sets you up. And then as that dries, we can go back in. So while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to go and do this shoulder. Here, a lot of corrosion between the plates. Often you're not even going to see the green, the dark green when I put it down here because there's already a dark brown wash that we put over this area. So I'm going to put a little bit of green up on some areas, just a bit. And then inside here, it's probably quite a bit of green. I may paint over a lot. You can see I put a lot of green in there. And then I think a lot of verdigris down here, right? Not as much on the top here. I still have shadows there, but I think the verdigris is going to build up mostly toward the bottom here. The bottom of this, these shapes. Because the water is going to fall into there and just drop right down. So that's a very easy one to extrapolate as far as the pattern you're likely to see, right? Thanks everybody for tuning in today, by the way. I often forget to just thank you guys for coming every day, but I do appreciate that you show up, and I like the company, so thank you. Pop some of the green down in the bottom of this as well. The sculpts, the detailing gets a little shallower there, so there's room to verdigris in there. Down here, just going to pop all the green in. Probably more down here. And again, I'm going to stipple kind of in a regular pattern there. Since this is wash consistency paint with this dark green, it's not really going to like stay, but you can see that irregular pattern I've got going on, and I'll be able to emphasize that with my other colors because they're more opaque. And then the inside of this, which is the same kind of pattern as the one up top, but definitely these grooves between will get a bunch of buildup. Probably some of the areas down here on the bottom. So you can go fast with this if you want, especially this stage. Like, precision is probably more important with your top highlight than it is with the intermediate stages. But a little bit of shift toward the green isn't going to hurt your bronze. So you can see that where I'm putting it. Yes, I do appreciate the lurking comments. Just to up our algorithms, right? Exactly. Oh, the algorithms. So many algorithms. Alrighty. I'm studying Amazon algorithms for my potential book publishing future, and it's very depressing. It's like, because Amazon doesn't really care if like, even if somebody goes to your book page, Amazon doesn't care if they buy your book. They just want the person to buy something. So there's all this distraction. You know, when you go to a product page, there's all these other ads on it when you're looking for something on Amazon, and you get totally distracted. Amazon doesn't care about that. Like, they're like, okay, you bought something, we win. That's kind of annoying. Yes, the algorithms are frightful. Yes, but these comments are so delightful. Yes. But nothing paint related like rhymes with snow. Oh, I forgot. I need to like pound that ram head if we're going to do it the other way. But that's all right. I can go right over it. Not a big deal. All right, we're going to get this green out, at least on the top of the ram's head, like we did over here on the side over here. Painted snow. Hello, Eric Jackson. Welcome. Or welcome back. We are vertigreening. I'm doing the first stage of verdigris here. And a lot of our bronze golem. Trying to put a lot of this down so that we can just do this whole arm in one fell swoop. Actually, I'll back out since I'm doing some imprecise application here. We don't need to be zoomed in so much, so I don't have to get off camera. Had some improved airflow. Knew I could depend on you guys. Looks like I got a blurf there. Must have accidentally painted that with a different color. Oh well, guess what? We can put verdigris on it and it won't matter. Maybe I'm getting a little verdigris slap happy. Maybe. But if you're going to do this much verdigris on something, you will get slap happy. You will just get a little bit crazy. It's like trying to do a ton of scales on a dragon. Your sanity points definitely diminish as you do it. That was a little bit too tight, so I went back in with some water and made the wash a little bit more loose. Yeah, make sure to comment. It is really helpful if you do comment. Twitch keeps track of how many people are talking in your stream. Like, it is one of their metrics. It shows community involvement, so they tend to put you up higher on their listings, if not just if there are more people, but if there are more people participating. So yeah, definitely always like pop in, say hi. If you do have a question, please ask. I would gladly be distracted from talking about verdigris. It's really not that terrible. It's just this is one of these things where, like, once you get the hang of it, this is where I put on like my music or my podcast and just go, because I don't need much of my brain. So like I want my distractions just so I can just kind of power through it. Well, the highlight color is actually our copper verdigris color. Copper and bronze are very similar in the way that they discolor. So because bronze is a copper alloy. And so you can use any dark green. I've used various dark greens for the base of the verdigris, and today we're using elven green, which is a great bones color. It's a very beautiful dark green. Very pretty. It's my new favorite dark green. So we're using that, and then I'm doing a mix, more or less 50-50 between the two to transition. But I always start with the dark. When we actually started more with the dark brown, which you can kind of see, you know, the brown color first. We applied a rough wash because that's really all I needed. And then I'm targeting more with the verdigris. I'm not just going to do a wash over the whole thing because there wouldn't necessarily be like water holding and buildup everywhere. Although over time, honestly, if you do put out like a copper or especially copper, like statues or roof tiles, they will uniformly discolor. Bronze, I see more targeted, like, discoloration. Although I bet over time, if you put a bronze statue in a place where nobody could touch it, you'd have uniformity as well. But bronze and copper both go brown first, and then they start to green out. And bronze can go red first. I've showed a picture before. I'm not going to dig it out this time, but I've got a picture from the Japanese gardens near the De Young Museum here in California. There are bronze plaques commemorating various parts of the gardens, and they're great to study because they get rain regularly, being in San Francisco, but they also like get a lot of people touching them. So you see all stages of the discoloration, from the start of it to starting to turn ruddy, to going brown, to almost black, to building up the green. It's really a cool effect. Bronze plaques and door knockers and door handles are great places to look to see that sort of progressive discoloration. So wherever people are touching it, it's going to stay, it's going to keep the verdigris off and usually rub off a fair amount of discoloration, but you'll still see shifts in color. Hello, Stefan's World. I am okay. I'm just losing sanity points because verdigris. Lots and lots of verdigris. I decided that it was verdigris time today, and after that we would see what we're going to have left. So down here where the ram's horn curls around, you can see where I put a pocket of verdigris over there. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to block this in with a lot of dark green because that would definitely catch water and it would definitely pool there. So you know you're going to have a very heavy verdigris pocket right there. Just looking over here, seeing I need to do that ram's horn as well. Same reasoning. But yeah, since your initial dark green is going over the metallic or the brown or whatever you're using at this point, you know, the mixture of two, since it's going over that in a thinner layer, that's why it doesn't so much matter what dark green you use. Because since you're thinning it, you're not going to get a real strong color out of it anyway. You're just going to get dark green. And that's why I don't really care which dark green I'm working with. I can work with several and have on this model. If I get one where I feel like I really like the color, like this, I actually really like the way the elven green is working, then I might make a mental note to use that from now on. But you have some wiggle room. You can play around and see what you like. And as long as you're highlighting with the same color, your verdigris is going to be compatible enough. It's going to look okay. Now, some of this is pretty bright over here because I was using a much brighter green on the underpainting over here. So if I want to take that down to match more what I'm doing now, which is less so, I'd grab this elven green and I'd make a real quick wash or glaze with it. Maybe a heavy glaze. Thin it down like so. Like that, I think. And then I just paint that over. It's going to color that color and warm it up. See how it warmed it up? Can even bring it up here and over here. So if you do choose to shift your green color and you do notice a difference, all you really have to do is just add a little glaze and you'll get more in tune with what we're doing on the other side. You are going to get a brighter green as you glaze because you're going over that verdigris. But actually, yeah, I'm about to do a video on that, Julia. But usually I use a medium with it. So I use our brush on sealer in place of matte medium. It works the same. And I used to do a 3-3-1, so 3 water, 3 sealer, and 1 drop of paint. But I shift that up now depending on what paint I'm using and how it reacts. If it's a thicker paint, I might add a drop more water. If it's a thinner paint, I might add a drop more sealer. I tune it, essentially. I missed a mold line here. Oh well. We're just going to paint it like whatever. Alrighty. I think I've got green going on all over the place. Now we got to tackle the back. Let's go. We're just going to get all this metal. We're going to verdigris it all today. I'm ambitious. Yes, bronze casting imperfection. Absolutely. But it depends, Julia, because like all paints are a little bit different, especially in MSP. You've got paints that are thicker and you've got liners. You have paints with really good coverage. Like if you're trying to do a black wash with pure black has immense coverage. So you're going to need more fluid. But you don't want to ever put too much fluid. And that's why I use the sealer, is because it keeps everything in solution. Wherever you have big open areas, which are very few on this model, that's where I start to stipple a little bit and introduce some fun patterning that isn't any part of the model itself. Here, actually, I think, because it's so recessed, I think I'm probably going to fill this in with light verdigris, because that's going to pool big time, as it is here. Sometimes I want to pre-fill in with the light and sometimes I don't. It's just like where I feel like it might be. If you're going to put washes on is it actual candlesticks or is it like, are you actually trying to put a wash on a metal candlestick? Because if so, you need a lot more medium. And I think here also is another place where I'm going to go in with the light. And just like I did on the other side, there would be a lot of fluid in here, especially on this lower part. So I'm just starting out doing that light. Alrighty. Let's get that kind of started. And then I can suggest more of it as I go up, but that won't be nearly as pervasive once it starts to curve back up toward the top. Let's see here. I want to go up there. So down at the bottom, I'm going to put a lot of greenish tones. And I'm going to go over a lot of it. At least going to put the dark green up here in the cracks. Because it all would start to verdigris. It just might not be quite as caked on as it is down below because the water's going to flow down here through all these. Oh, okay. Yeah, tarnished brass is a medium colored metallic. So it will go quite dark with the wash. The lighter you start with your metallic, the more dramatic effect you're going to get from your wash, and the more difference it will make. In general, if you decide to do several different colored washes on a model, like I'm doing with these, you want to start as light as you can with your metallic so that it gives you lots of room to shade down and then bring it back up. This is why I tend to mix, for this, we used something that was just a little bit, we mixed something lighter than tarnished brass. I don't have my tarnished brass. Yes, I do. So here we go. Let me show you the difference. Where is my tarnished brass? So tarnished brass is about the same shade as far as light or dark as our ancient bronze is. But with ancient bronze, I decided to lighten it by adding new gold and adding pearl white, a drop of pearl white, remember? So we did a 3, 2, 1. What that did is it brought the bronze lighter so that I could do more washes without everything totally disappearing. So essentially, and this is true of any wash, if you want your wash to have a dramatic effect, start with your base coat being lighter. The tarnished brass will take one wash really well, but more washes, you may start to really lose it, like it may go quite dark. Depends on the colors you're going to use. By all means, play around. But then after you do that, Julia, try mixing like a drop of the new gold and a drop of the pearl white into the tarnished brass. Put that down and try washes over that. You're going to see a difference. All right. Likewise, for these little bits, I think these are going to be pretty pale. Lots of water. Although here we're next to a hypothetical heat source, so since I kind of want that center part to be like an energy, all of this, all that orangey painted stuff. So that means that any water would probably evaporate faster from this center section, so I probably should keep it a little darker as far as my green. Not as much verdigris will build up if it's surrounded by heat because the water will evaporate faster, so you won't get as much. So I'm going to keep that in mind. No problem. Yeah, the basic rule for washes always is if you want a more visible effect to use a lighter color. And, you know, tarnished brass isn't a dark metallic, but it's not as light as some other stuff, so just play around with it. Essentially, the more colors and pigment any metallic has in it, and the less you're going to see the shine, so the darker the metallic is going to look. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm being pretty consistent. I'm keeping my lighter greens to the bottom of things so that I've got the definite illusion that the water has been running down over the surfaces. I am being a little messy here. That's on purpose because verdigris is not like a neat thing. It varies. I'm going to come in with my highlight color again, and this time I'm going to stipple a bit. And concentrate more on where I'm putting it, where the lightest bit of it is. I want that mostly to be down on in the crevices toward the bottom of things. Not always though, like sometimes vertical crevices will trap fluid. So you have some leeway to play around. Your brain is wise. You should always experiment. And on something like a candlestick where it's really not like necessarily the main thing, like it's usually an accessory, those are great things to play around on because they're not as important as the model sitting next to them probably. So all down toward the bottom edges here, interior edges, I'm going to build up lighter verdigris. Just a bit more. I lost some lining and some detailing down here, so I'm going to grab my walnut so I can bring that back. Yeah, the whole point when you're learning to mini paint, playing is half of what you should be doing. Playing around and trying stuff. It's a valuable part of learning. As well as being fun. Where is my water? There it is. Ah, I see. Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna mix up my walnut. I'm doing it 2-to-1, paint to water. Just because I want a nice dark line, but I want it fluid enough that I can do a thin line. Walnut has excellent coverage, so it's very good for that when you want a thin but very dark line. Just because I feel like I get a bit muddy down here specifically. And it looks like the detail didn't all carry down like the same on both sides. So we'll just deal with that. I'm just gonna create a line there. Yeah, holidays like play havoc with everything. Mine were disruptive as well. So there we got I was able to put in a little bit more. I'm going to create a line here to match on the other side. There. That's better. I'm going to grab some green and put it down here, which I totally missed before. And that's definitely going to pool down toward the bottom of these big sections. Now, I will go back and highlight as well. This is, verdigris technically is counting as shading. In a lot of ways, I'm using some of this dark green to add more shadows. And in areas where there isn't much verdigris, I'm going to have to rely on highlighting to help bring out details. Yeah, I do not have the ladder, although once we get another doglet, then the doglet will be very, very distracting. I'll probably have to start taking a break. We'll see. I'm hoping if I take the puppy out right before stream that we'll manage to not interrupt stream, but when the puppy is a baby, maybe we'll have to interrupt the stream for puppy out. It depends on if the puppy is good enough to sleep through the show. And they do sleep a lot, so we may be okay. So just again, some random stipples to kind of create just kind of a randomized pattern here, mostly building up toward the bottom where the water's going to pool if it's there. For the future Pendrake, I may get a puppy in September-ish. It'll be a while, but I'm already planning. If that litter doesn't take, it'll be all the way to next year. Or if there's not a puppy that fits my fits what I would like. Since in my breed we do puppy evaluations to discern temperament before we figure out who gets which puppy. So I am looking for a puppy temperament that may or may not be in this litter. We'll see. Went up and lined that strut real quick. Wanted a little more contrast up there. But yeah, I actually want a more aloof dog. I don't want a dog that's going to be in everybody's face. So we'll see if this litter gives me that. Curie had a more aloof temperament, and I very much liked it. I also can't deal with a puppy that's a total mush. Like, I know it's a sweet temperament, but I get very frustrated with it because of my personality. And in my past dogs, I enjoy dogs more that have a bit of chutzpah, that aren't like total softies. Like Leo was a total softie, and it frustrated me, and he and I just never really jived because of it. I was just too loud and too forceful for him. Whereas Kiri and Blazy and Thorn were all more confident dogs. And we got along very well. So part of choosing a dog, and if you don't, if you just pick it when you're looking at dogs, part of choosing a dog is like, what's your personality like? If you're a really loud, confident, boisterous person, then the shy, sweet dog may be a very not your great pick, actually, even if it captures your heart, unless you're willing to change your behavior. All right. I think we've got a lot of green. I think we've got it almost everywhere. Oh, I need to do the interior of this part. Then we can start the next step, and we'll get verdigris all over everything. Okay. So the initial green, as you can see, it's just flashing it on. Like, I'm not being real precise with how I'm placing it, except to make sure that it gets into any grooves where I feel like moisture would really pool. But otherwise, I'm just kind of broadly stippling the surface to give it some texture. All right. I think we have verdigris, pretty much the first stage of verdigris, pretty much everywhere we want. Now I need to grab, for these big areas, I need to grab my next stage of verdigris. So that's my middle color here, which is a combo. Now, depending on your green here, you're going to get different midtones, and that's where you're going to get a brighter green or a brighter green like this, or you're going to get more of a muted green like that. And the reason that this is coming off not as bright as our last choice of color is that there is a fair amount of black in Elven Green. So when you add that white color in, the color with lots of white, you're going to get gray. If you want a brighter verdigris, then you want to start with a dark green that's more vibrant and with less black. But yeah, I'll be going for the puppy evaluation on this litter. I'll be going up to do it myself, so I'll get a real close-up look at the temperaments of the puppies. I also want a puppy with some drive because I want to do trick training, which I did with our old dog Thorn, and it was really fun. But you want a dog that has a bit of drive for that. A dog that's kind of lazy and just wants to be a couch potato is not the ideal temperament. So yeah, I have a pretty specific idea. After owning so many Shilohs, I have a very specific idea of the personality of puppy that I want. At least the raw material. At 8 weeks, all you're looking at is raw material. I'm just going to keep the verdigris kind of dark on the undersides, I think, just more as a shadow than anything. I'm going to put the color in there, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because it's the underside. I am looking at going up to a puppy evaluation in Canada in about 3 months. Kiri great-great-grandkids. And it's not a long flight up to just north of Vancouver, so I'll probably fly into Seattle and drive up with a friend. There we go. So we just start putting in that lighter green around the areas where you've got your dark green. Same with this. You're going to see that dark green. You're going to see my lighter green go in there. When you're working with the lighter green, you can be more precise with your stippling as well. You're probably pretty chill then, Thoramel. Dogs like chill. I am not chill. I've learned this. I probably could stand to be a little more chill. I try. It's not my New Year's resolution, though. There's a lot of other New Year's resolutions. I can't pile on anymore now. But yes, I'm looking forward to a new puppy. It's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to be sleep disruptive, but it's kind of fun to train a brand new baby doglet, so... Very much so. It annoys the heck out of you. Yeah, see? When you have a real chill personality, almost all dogs will be fine with you because that's like the personality that just like calms down. Like a lot of dogs will kind of draw on your energy. So if you're nervous, they'll pick it up. If you're chill, they'll be chill. And so even if you are not a very chill person, trying to be a little more chill for your dog, especially when you get a new one and you're trying to train them to trust you and follow your lead, is a really good attribute to have. So good for you, Thoramel. I hope you find a good puppy for you. The litter that I'm looking at for our breed is an outcross litter, which is that we're crossbreeding to breeds that are not Shilohs, and then we're breeding back to Shilohs, but keeping the genetic diversity and hopefully getting better health out of it. So essentially fresh blood, which we can do because we're not an AKC breed. And this is an outcross litter that I'm on. So, because I really believe in the program. So it actually will be a mixed breed. It will be 75% Shiloh and 12.5% standard poodle and 12.5% Dutch Waterhound, which is the mix that we used. So it should be interesting. I'm very much very interested in this. Yeah, well, as long as you're, if you have a significant other who can be the boss, that can work, Carrie. I was the bad guy in all of our dog relationships, and my ex was the pushover. But it would be, it showed though, because when they were out in the backyard and the evil Chow Chow would come to the fence and attack it, like, I could stop them with a command, but they would ignore my ex. So there's pros and cons. But yeah, and you know what? Some dogs are so easygoing that it doesn't matter if you're not super firm. It really, and that's where knowing what breed you're looking at getting is very useful. Because like shepherd breeds and bully breeds do tend to need like consistency. They want a kind but firm hand that's not going to let them get away with stuff. But there are a lot of very laid back breeds that you could be a pushover and they probably, they wouldn't care as much. I missed Kernigo's little... You seem pretty chill, Kernigo. Yes, that would be chill. Sometimes dogs will follow you just because you're giving off a vibe they like. Like, dogs are even more than what you say to them. It depends on the dog, but dogs watch your body language. So if you have a calm, confident, easygoing body language, then chances are dogs are going to react positively to you. Because they pay more attention to body language than they do to the words that come out of your mouth. Because that's how they communicate. Now, let's say having a dog is like having a tiny alien in your home because you're trying to teach a tiny alien English. And it doesn't come naturally to them. So I'm building up these lighter verdigris. Just putting a little bit of the very lightest verdigris here, and then I built up a little spot like up here that's a little stronger. You can also do a little stippling here. This is another one of those nice broad areas where you can just do your own kind of freehand pattern, which I actually kind of prefer. I would rather not have all of the detail with the verdigris. I think I like the effects better where I can be a bit more naturalistic, but this Golem is not that. So... Cats are also tiny aliens. They're more tiny aliens because, they haven't been necessarily bred to serve humans down through the, tens of thousands of years. I mean, originally, they would keep mice out of the granaries and stuff like that, right? So that's a pretty independent job. They're not having, the human is not directing the cat in any way, right? In that original job the cat did with humans. Whereas then you look at breeds that were bred to herd or hunt, and they tend to be much more, it depends on the hunting, but herding dogs especially tend to be much more human focused because they needed to be. So that was a trait that they were bred for. So cats, I think, are more alien just because they've always really had the job of, hey, do your own thing as long as you kill some rats. It'd be nice if you let me pet you every once in a while. Ear scritches are extra, right? I mean, you can be an alien and still like ear scritches. Come on. There is no working cat class, right? Exactly. Although lately, more and more cats are getting like John and Farrah Bono down in Denton, right? They socialize their cats just like dog breeders socialize their puppies. So they'll socialize when they get a rescue kitten batch that they raise. They socialize them with humans. They really love bomb them. And so their cats tend to be more sociable than a cat that's just, let do what it wants as it is, as it gets to 8 weeks old or more. So I think that it very much is a nature versus nurture a little bit. I mean, cats have been with us long enough now that humans tend to like cats that are more sociable with them and that actually do give a darn about their humans. So, but then you also have a lot of stray cats, which may not have a lot of those genetics being reinforced. So it's interesting. The genetics of domestication and sociability to humans are very, very interesting. All right, so we've got some nice verdigris going on back here now. So I need to, that one's done. I need to do the top of this ram, and I need to do the shoulder. Yeah, you can get that. And that just shows that, a lot of cats prosper if they tend to be friendlier to humans, even stray cats, because if they take food from humans, then they'll, they have an advantage. So, and even with the Fox Project, the domesticated foxes in Russia, there were foxes that were born that were naturally more inclined to not fear humans. So it can definitely still be genetic. I mean, there are rescue dogs that are rescued from those terrible places that still love and trust humans even after all the abuse that they went through. And that breaks my heart, but at the same time, it shows that dog just really has that real predisposition to want to be with people and to like people. It's neat. Breeders of various animals will argue nature versus nurture for, ages, decades. There's still a lot of argument or discussion, shall we say, about which counts for more. I'm going to flood this area. All on the bottom part of these is probably going to have verdigris taking over, so I'm going to leave the tops. I'm going to start stippling in my lighter color here. You can see that going in. I'm going to get closer. Yeah. Yeah, and experience can definitely, you can totally get a cat to trust you. Though I'll tell you that, at least judging from the Fox Project, that cat almost certainly has a genetic predisposition to be friendly to humans. And may not have been friendly just because he'd had bad experiences or wasn't raised around humans. But for him to get like that attached to you, he probably does have it. We never know what's happened to those poor critters when they're out on their own. But that's cool that you have rehabbed him to the point where he adores you. But how could he not adore you, Chroniko? Like, honestly. You are obviously one of the most awesome cat people on the planet. Like, he is so lucky to be your cat. So we're filling in that with little marks. Yeah, I like a more sociable cat. Panther was a sociable cat. Mama-san's son. He was never a lap cat, weirdly. He didn't like laps. It was very rare that he would get into a lap. But he would always like sleep next to me and stuff like that. So he just didn't like to sit on me. I'm going to bring in that very light verdigris now at the very bottom so you can see that. Because that's where it would build up, right? So we're getting a real realistic look here. You're just a big cat mug, yes. Yep. And that's definitely genetics too. Some of that is genetics, at least just judging from, again, only just looking at the domestication studies that have gone on, like with foxes and stuff. But retaining more young, youthful characteristics into adulthood is definitely. You also see that in wolves versus dogs, right? Where dogs act very much like puppy wolves do. But dogs keep that behavior, whereas puppy wolves don't. It's very interesting. It's all really, really interesting. I love genetics. It's fascinating stuff. Also very scary lately. Some of the epigenetics stuff, where the choices that you're making from day to day will just slowly change your genetic code. Yeah, fun. Definitely drives me to make some better choices. All right, there we go. Just gonna put in a little bit, I wanted a little bit of shadow there at the very bottom. Yes, you guys take really good cares of your kiddos. They are lucky kiddos, for sure. There we go. So now you guys can see, and it should make sense when you look at it. It should almost look like the palest has, run down and puddled in places, right? You should get that feel from verdigris. At least verdigris where like the whole statue isn't like green. Let's see. Let me see if I can get a better focus here. There we go, better. Yeah, traditional cat, right? A necessary evil or something she sees you as. It's like, oh yes, this human, how quaint. There we go. So just bringing up like random stippling here and not necessarily being too regimented. Pretty good. Now I need to get this tackled. I take my middle green, and where this big kind of glob landed, I'm going to fill a lot of that in. You have the illusion of many cats. Alrighty, let's bring in some of this lighter stuff all along the bottom. And again, just at this point, a lot of stippling. We're going fast today, so I'm not being too precise with this. I'm going to bring in quite a bit over the face of this, just like I did on the other side. Bring in a fair amount of stippling there, and a bit here. And again, lots of little dots of it. It's kind of a tracery of it here and there until I get to a point where I want to build it up. And a fair amount of kind of globbing it over some of these really fine details. Probably there's going to be quite a bit of water there, so. And the detail's too fine to do everything really precise. And since it's shallow detail, chances are the verdigris would build up over the top of it anyway, a bit. So you're within your rights to crust it over. Remember to build it up at the bottom of these ram's horns because it would definitely pool there. There. All right. I think we've got it. Maybe missing some up here on the top of the shoulder pad. Boom. Just need a little bit to bring it in line with everything else. Don't have to go too crazy if you don't want to. I think I'm just going to do the bits between there. Maybe a little bit on the inside. But on the inside of the shoulder pad is just somewhere that people aren't going to look a lot, so you don't necessarily need to put a lot of detail back there if it's something that people really aren't going to look at. Do enough so that you get a little bit of the feel, but you don't have to go too crazy. Same with this other one over here. Hello, GBD. How's it going? That's cool. At least you showed up. I am speed verdigrising today, trying to get all of this area verdigrised in. So we've been applying it all over the place, pretty much, to get it to where I want it. So I realized that I better hurry up and finish this model before I totally run out of oomph to work on it. It's either if it's not going to get done on stream, it's not getting done. So I am attempting to get a lot done in one stream. Which usually I take my time so I can explain more, but because the verdigris is just really repetitive, I'm not. Really only is a tiny line of that really light verdigris. You don't need to put a ton of it on unless you want to. If you cover over all your darker greens, you're going to wash out the color of green. So you may not want to do that. So question how much verdigris you really want on any given point. How it's going to affect the color of everything. There we go. So as you can see, this is possible to do this very quickly, relatively quickly anyway. If I generalize and I don't spend too much time in in being precise, if I just go for it, get it roughly where I want it, because it's a weathering effect, as long as I'm consistent with my placement, my general placement, it should be just fine. Yeah, that's nice. I like that I've got more corrosion on the front of the ram's head. Actually, I'm going to put that on the other side too. Too bright. Too much. Take a damp brush and rub that right off. And re-put it on. Yo, Val. All right, today, is it Luca Day, Quindy? I'm going to try to end on time for Luca. I went a little late yesterday, so I can actually end on time today if it's a Luca Day. And I seem to recall it being a Luca Day. Oh, Luca Day is tomorrow day? What's today? Is it Crow's Nest Day? It's Crow's Nest Day, isn't it? Yeah. All right, good. Well then. So I like the way that fist looks now with that pattern of verdigris. I kind of like that a little bit better than the battered ram's head on this side, to be honest. I like that I could put some kind of very random patterns here. I like how that looks a lot, actually. All right, I do need to put a little bit more green up here. That's good. Just trying to get... I just know I always end up holding up Luca. Because I go a few minutes late. Because I'm silly. All right, there we go. A little bit more there. There. Just little bits of verdigris all over the place. And when you get that little bit everywhere, that's when you really, like, it starts to just look spread out across the whole figure. It's just a part of the figure. So I went a little heavier on some parts of that than I did over here. Karenico, you're funny. Yes, Proctor is learning sculpting. Yes, Jason is going to try to teach Michael to sculpt over the internet. With green stuff. So this promises some comedy. Possibly some profanity. Possibly both. But if you are interested in learning, not just sculpting, but, you know, conversion. If you want to do conversions on your models, I'll put a little bit more verdigris over here since I have it so heavily on the other side. Although it doesn't have to be. Maybe the way that the weather tends to run where this guy stands is like more weather hits this side of him than hits this side of him. The question is, does he look good from the front? And he does. So actually, let's do some, just adding a little bit more green here. I'm going to do some around the middle part here. That's a part that I haven't done. Yeah, so if you want to know basic tips and tricks for working with green stuff, tune in. Tune in to Crow's Nest today. It was very fun to be their guest last week. So since this is turned down, I'm going to mostly use the shadowy green, the Elven green, to just add some green tones to that underside. And I'll only add a little bit of verdigris, maybe along the lower part and toward the bottom. Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, I turn into a pumpkin at like 10:30. Luckily, it's much earlier in my time zone. But yes, Crow's Nest is very late for our friends in Europe. reaperlive, that's true. Do you really need to see reaperlive live, though? I guess if you want to get the giveaways, you do. So I'm going to add some dark greens around the bottom lip here. Right around there. And then around the bottom as well. Again, that's kind of a power source back there, so chances are that verdigris won't get a lot of time to build up just because it's probably going to dry fast if there's a heat source behind it. But I can add a little bit. So a little bit of my medium green. We're going over heavy texture here. It makes it a little bit harder to get things to look right. May just have to paint over some of the metal in order to get it to read right. Lose some details. It's kind of counterintuitive that way. You stay up for the giveaways. Well, when there's like 600 people watching the show, it's only a few people get the goods. You wouldn't miss it. Want to remind yourself how silly Ed and Ron can be? Is that it, Julie? It does make me remember what it was like to work at Reaper. Like work at the HQ. It's funny. Alrighty. That's pretty good. Let's see here. I want a little bit more green up here. I want... We're doing okay here, actually. I think I need a little lighter. My verdigris is a little bit unbright down here. I only did the base part. Sleep is so precious to me. Like, I can't do it. Anything that disrupts my sleep, like, throws off my entire next day. I guard my sleep with the ferocity of lions. All right, just adding in more verdigris, bringing everything up a little more so that everything there is in line with each other. Hey, Sigwolf, sup? You know what? I'm going to bring in my walnut that I thinned down earlier and kind of line. I did this on the other side too, but I lined the ram's horns to bring them out a little bit better because it's a nice detail. I haven't done this really anywhere else, but just some of these really tight details that I like, the bigger details. I don't want to do it on the little tiny stuff because I've already painted like verdigris kind of creeping over the edges of those designs. But the ram's horns are bigger. I want the details to come out. Just remember not to line over your verdigris. If your verdigris is caked on, it's going to pretty much fill in that detail. Well, we're almost to the end. Just a few minutes. I just want to see if I'm missing any other key verdigris points that I didn't pick up earlier. Oh, I think I want a little bit thicker here. And next time I'll probably throw the metallic onto all these lower areas. We'll have to figure out what color we want to do the ends of his belt bits. If I want to do that the same bronze, which works. It works actually. I don't think I want to make them dark like some of the darker metal I've got up here. That's the thing about doing a bronze golem, is like you paint it bronze. It's what you do. There, that's better. And this. And that. Just kind of looking at what we got going on. I brought in a lot more verdigris on the brim of the other side. So I'm going to build up a little bit more on this side. And then let's zoom out and get in focus and take a look. We have verdigrised out the hand, the side of the helmet. Got my verdigris built up on the back. I missed a spot over here. No, not really. I was going more for like kind of almost a blued steel, like heated metal kind of discoloration. Heat discoloration on the metal here. Trash. I don't know if I like it. I might change it. I've been jury's been out on that for a while now, and I've just been ignoring it in favor of getting the actual bronze bits done. There we go. But yeah, I'm not sure if I like it, so it's like, keep kind of looking at it going, There's not much of it, so it isn't like it's a big thing. Get a little bit more verdigris in here. I think that's not too bad. There we are. And I think we're pretty good. We got a lot done today. A lot. Like a lot of verdigris. Like the only part that we haven't verdigrised now is his like plate here. And I'll just save that for when I do the rest of the plates down here. But he's definitely, like, once we fill in all these leg bits, he's going to be feeling a lot closer to done. That's going to make me a lot happier about him in general. We'll see if I decide to do the tin or the scorched metal on his little belt instead of, or his little skirt instead of the bronze. It ends up looking very close, so I'm not sure that it matters. He's getting there. He's getting there, Bryce. I'm like, if I'm going to finish him on stream or I'm not going to finish him. He's just too huge and chonky. At this point, he's taken up so much time. So it's a monster project. Ugh. I would be happy, like, when I don't have to work on him anymore. Like, when it gets to that point, then I know that I either have to rush and I have to finish him, or I just have to put him aside and we start something new. He looks great. It's just, you know, when you get to that late point in the model and you're just like, this again. That's the peril of the big models on this show. I like doing smaller minis because there's always something a little bit different to work on them. But when you go and do a big model that's all like almost all one surface, one type of surface, it can definitely get on you. It can definitely be difficult to finish. So we'll keep moving. I'll do at least one more stream on him and see how I feel and if we're really close. Yeah, but I don't hold myself to my resolutions on my stream. Like, because here I want to make sure that I'm entertaining and I'm also like educating. And we've done several streams on the verdigris now. And so my big problem with this model right now is I feel like it's very repetitive. And so for me, if I have to put him aside, I have to put him aside. But I'm going to try at least to get the rest of the medals done on the legs, because if I can get all that blocked in, then he's really close to like being more or less done. So then I think we can push. The Reservoir of Hatred. Something like that. The Reservoir of Hatred is building. Yeah, you know you get there, right? Is dragons. Dragons tend to do that too, because they're so big and there's so many scales and it's all the same. And you're just like, rawr. But yeah, so yeah, the Reservoir of Hatred. But yeah, we'll keep pushing. We'll keep pushing and we'll see. I'm definitely at least going to get the legs all metalliced in. And once I do that, we'll put our washes on. And after that, it's like, well, then there's just some verdigris, right? So yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, and we all hit that as artists and as mini painters and as writers for that matter, is like the project is so big and you just get tired. You get tired of it. And this is a little better because I only have to paint this one every 6 days. But then it still just feels repetitive to me sometimes. So like I said, maybe our challenge will be that we're going to paint this, finish this out fast. I did a lot of verdigris today and got a lot to the point where it's finished for me. So that means that it's getting there. If I can push again next stream, then we can get almost close to done. Yes, why did I do lava effect on every... Yeah, the leather is like, I need to do the little bits out of it. It's actually pretty good. Like it's purple black, so it's okay, but the plume has to be done somehow. But yeah, I mean, my goal on this is not competition level, so I would never have done this to competition level. I know myself too well. It would be like, nope, it would just get to a point. But yeah, exactly like that. I know you guys know how it feels. So tomorrow we're going to finish our knoll. Yay, it's knoll time. Knoll time. So we'll finish up the back of the blade on Nolly, as it doesn't quite have the highlights that I would like to see on it. And then we'll do his pouch, and then we're going to do a general pass. I'll probably make his eyes red. I decided I wanted to kind of go with the red up there and see if I can make it read. And then just a general pass of kind of cleanup and tightening, and maybe doing some highlights, more highlights on the like knees of the pants and a little bit of the black. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do next time on Reaper Pro Tips. Tomorrow morning, tune in for Nolly piratey action. And then I have to choose what's next. I used this model up on my video that I posted yesterday on the Patreon, which is patreon.com/paintingbig, for those who are wondering. But I may actually rebase coat her, and we might do the hair folk after we get done with Nolly. Because I've got her, she's prepped, she's ready, and I like her, so we may just do that. Yes, I hope all of you have a lovely day, and I hope to see you tomorrow for Noel. Thanks much for tuning in, everybody. Have a great one.